We have another field trip today. We went to the Living Learning Library and Ethan just found a peacock, so.
I saw a peacock.
You saw a peacock? Did it show you its feathers?
No.
Not yet. Okay, here we go.
I can have a peacock.
Where?
Right there.
Oh my God, there's another peacock.
We're absolutely delighted to have you. This is the Living Learning Library. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and this is the largest known collection of living books anywhere in the world. My first library was up in Michigan almost 30 years ago, and that's the first living library that we know of. And so our goal here is to preserve, to rescue, and then to archive, and finally to lend the greatest youth literature that has ever been produced on every single topic, and have it available for kids, because it is absolutely life-changing at a deep level when you have quality literature. The literature is so different in its very nature from what you may have known growing up, because the high quality, truly narrative great books have been out of circulation in the United States for about 50 years. The nature changed. Now books are way more techy and reductionistic and so forth. They have a completely different goal. We'll go into that deeper, but these reach all the way down to the heart because of the extremely melodic and lyrical language and real art from real artists, done with pastels, oils, etc.
Right.
Not just computer images or photographs or whatever.
No AI.
No AI. No, this is the real thing.
This is
And
the real
because
deal.
it's the real thing, it penetrates all the way down to the real core of a young person's heart, and then it changes their life forever, and parts of them come alive that it just feels like can't come alive any other way, because language is so incredibly powerful. I mean, it's a special gift right from the Lord. People are created in His image, and this is a special gift that He gave us of language. So a living book means that the topic was like alive at the time. It's not all cut up into pieces. It isn't like plastic models. It's the real thing. And then it's like it lives inside of the heart of us because of how beautiful the language and the art is, how whole the book is, and how beautiful the nature of that book is. So that's what we're doing here.
Okay,
Glad
great.
to give you a tour.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, her name is Alex, and she's in charge of a lot of our special. Oh, Florian. Okay. I was going to pull for your son to offer him. I thought he was a little bit younger, so we might have to. We'll add a little bit more morning. So, but we can try to pull while you're here. You want to have a seat, Marion? If we open up this typical modern book, we'll see that the book itself is in pieces. See these blue lines here keep separating the book into segments, and then the forest itself has been like chopped up, put into a garbage disposal, so to speak, into lots of little parts. We're never going to see the whole. We're ever only going to see parts, and that is extremely significant. Even on this page, let's say just about seed pods, we don't even have connected language about the seed pod. We have a factoid, a bit, a shard, a factoid, a bit, a shard. And so you can see that there is a reductionist tendency in this book. And part of the reason is because the content is extremely clinical and extremely sterile, in the sense that they are trying to see the reader, in my opinion, as a biological flash drive, so to speak, with the capacity to download data into the actual cerebrum. And so what they're giving you is factoidy bits. And so they come in separate segments like that. You're not being taken on a journey that involves more of the parts of you, but are just being given factoids to memorize. The problem is that without that deeper connection, we have less reason to actually hang on to the factoids. And in my opinion, these short blurbs are kind of an admission of defeat, that we know you wouldn't read all of this if it was all put together, so we're gonna break it up so it looks more doable. And instead of language being the focus, instead images are the focus. So look at this big, gigantic, colorful image. We're getting the retina stimulated. The rod and cone cells are really happy.
Oh,
The
look at you.
the optic nerve is firing. And that buzz from the rod and cone cells is supposed to make us feel engaged. But what we should be feeling engaged at is a much deeper level than just our retina. That's not enough. So you can see the dependency on large, colorful images. And usually when kids come into the library for the first time, they'll say, do you have any of those books that are hardly any words and are almost all pictures? So you see that they've already learned to equate language with pain and suffering.
Yeah.
As Blaise Pascal talked about, once you've decided what makes you happy, you'll pursue it forever. Once you've decided about what's painful, you'll avoid it forever. So it's very important that those decisions be made correctly. But if language is just like machine code and is just fragmented, superficial data, then it doesn't create the same type of joy that true language can make. Albert Einstein said, don't ever bother learning anything you can look up. And almost everything we ever had in school was what could be looked up. So what he's saying is go deep into the undergirding principles, or look at the overarching qualities, the soaring nature of these things. And that's generally what is removed when you just get factoids and parts and pieces. And by the way, these images are plastic. They are not even the real seed pod or the real tip of the branch. If you look closely, you'll see how plasticky the pieces are. So everything about this screams of mankind being able to do it on his own. Since the Garden of Eden, basically, mankind has been stamping his little foot just like a toddler and saying, I can do it myself. And so that's happening again, in my opinion, even here with the plastic nature of it. So
That's
there's
so
a lot
fascinating.
of
I never even, I have already a new perspective on everything.
Well, and the thing is that this is not even a real force. There's no reality whatsoever. This is virtual reality before we heard the term. This is clip art of plastic on someone's laptop. It never grew anywhere. No one ever visited it anywhere. And somehow this has become typical fare for youth literature, and has been for some time now, completely unrooted from the actual real world that in which we inhabit.
Right.
So the whole purpose of the library then is to have the type of book that was made when the Judeo-Christian ethic was still very prevalent in the nation, when wholeness was welcomed and celebrated. And in fact, God made mankind to be steward of everything he created. So actually, the more magnificent the creation is, actually the more elevated the stewardship is. So look at just how different the title is, rather than just forest. Here's your directory label. That first word is secrets. Secrets. Oh my goodness. That's speaking to me in a different way. Instead of a type of passivity, unscrew the lid on your cranium and get ready to download information. This is saying get your imaginary pith helmet on, get your imaginary canteen over your shoulder, because we're going on an exploration, into the real world. So it calls for an activity, an involvement and engagement, not just a passive download, but an active entry into. And in my opinion, it elevates the reader. It's saying, hey, you're capable of that. You were even made to do that, to wonder and to learn and to discover. And that's deep down what our kids want to know, that everybody believes that they are capable of and desirous of discovery. And it's the secrets of Redding Glen. The author illustrator actually lived in Redding, Connecticut. This was a real forest that he walked in and enjoyed and painted. And so what do we see here? Instead of just one bit of cellulose being emphasized, we have the totality, the wholeness, the orchestral symphonic complexity of the whole, rather than an emphasis on a plastic part. That is a ginormous difference. And when we open the book, then we'll see that rather than a lot of stimulation, it's just the opposite. It's actually very peaceful.
Yeah.
It's calming. It's almost as if a buffer is being created with the outside world. That world is going to fall away, and we're going to go down and into this world. And look what we have here, another full-scale painting with artistic quality, because art also conveys deep things to us. We pick up on art in an immaterial way. We grasp things from it, just like we do from real language. In my opinion, language is one of the highest gifts God has given to mankind, and it is the way that real matters of importance penetrate to the deepest and eternal part of us. And that is why language is to be elevated rather than to be diminished.
Right.
But what we do want is our kids to get the deepest truths in every single area, and language is the means of doing that. As I said, in the more modern book, the language is more like machine code, and here it's real language. And here's an example. In Redding, there is a glen where the wild geese fly and the salamanders live, where the owl hoots in the moonlight and the wood thrush sings in the day. Wild grapes cling to the beech tree and the loon cries out in the night. The hills that surround the cove give sanctuary to the fox and the deer. The silence of a deep-shadowed summer's day is broken only by the drone of a cicada or the silver song of a scarlet tanager. And that is real language.
Real life.
Real life, real language, real art. Everything about it is real, and that is actually what we're after. Because I like to think about what the Bible says. The Bible never uses the word brain one time. An author that I read, Ruth Beechick, pointed that out. It does talk a lot about the mind, of course, but the mind already implies something more than just cortical or cerebral functioning. It implies, your goals, your dreams, your character, so much more. And what the Bible says over and over again, especially in Proverbs, is incline to me your heart, which was symbolic for the soul or spirit. So in other words, incline to me your soul. so that you may receive not only wisdom, but also knowledge and instruction. So in my opinion, the deep soul of every young person is actually the target of education. And what reaches the deep soul? Beautiful lyrical language and beautiful real art. And these are things that have basically been eliminated from youth literature today. And so we get a lot of facts being memorized and very little deep knowing and caring. Now, does the brain play a role? Again, talking to a neuroscientist, yes. But I think that the heart, this is my opinion. I believe that the brain is kind of a tool of the deep soul of a human being, and that brain is kind of waiting for signals. Oh, this matters. Oh, this is beautiful. These are qualitative statements that come from deep inside of us. I care about this. I love this. These are all, again, immaterial, heart-based statements. And then when that brain gets that signal, oh my goodness, it's fully engaged and it never forgets. If you told me to memorize the birthday of a guy over there in the parking lot, I would struggle to do it because I don't have a relationship with him. You asked me to remember my mother's birthday, my sister's birthday, I don't even have to work on it. I don't have to repeat it every, cycle around. I know it because I'm in relationship with them. So when we contact something at the heart level and we build a relationship with it, we know about it cerebrally forever without any effort because we have built that relationship. Charlotte Mason, my favorite educator who was exploring the richness of education, said that education is the building of relationships between the child and God, the child and every one he has made, and the child and everything he has made. Think of the enormity of that statement. The building of relationships. And how do we build a relationship with the forest in Reading, Connecticut? Through beautiful language and beautiful art. So notice that there's no segmentation in the book. One page actually flows to the next, which flows to the next. In fact, did you notice that the art even helped move us along on that current? So flow and connectivity is the key here, not separation and reductionism. But this is the point at which somebody usually says, oh, that's nice, you have a picture book about the forest. And there's a real reason people say that, because about the only time that real lyrical language and real art is used in children's books today is in picture books. As soon as they become quote unquote academic, then it moves over to this digital type of approach. But this actually is a science book. In the golden age of youth literature, this is how science books were made. So for example, here we see the tree fall, and look what's going to happen right here, Ethan. Look what's going to happen a few pages in. Can I get lucky and find the right page? Saprophytes have grown on the fallen tree. They're beginning to break it down. The nutrients are returning to the soil. This is what we all had, the forest succession cycle. We had this in a textbook. Here it's happening organically within the flow of the science book. So predator-prey relationships, all the beautiful symphonic complexities of a forest are here and will never be forgotten, will always be cherished, and a deep care for this, a deep virtue toward it will be instilled at the same time. So that is a living book.
Got a cricket book.
Yes.
The crickets. I got what's inside a sea creature.
Ooh.
And I got 17 minutes to live.
17 minutes to live.
That was in there. No, they're still there. Can I go outside? I'm done. You gotta reach side. Yeah, that one. Just take this one. You have to go first.
Rolling?
Take 4.
Take 4. Here we go. We got a few books here at the Living Library, Living Learning Library. Ethan
This one's about scat.
This one's about scat. We've got everything from scat to reptiles
And that's
to
why I got this book.
boy trapper. Which one's that? Kit Carson. Not too close. Back it up. There we go.
That's a purple.
And we got stuff about Abraham Lincoln. Getting our workout in too with the books.
Let's go.